Shout out to the gayest podcast out there with Ross and Calum, Jiu Jitsu Oracle.
Welcome to the Jiu Jitsu Oracle's ranking of PSF/Daisy Fresh for CJI2, the last of the 8 teams in the competition that we have to score. We're going to score all 5 athletes and the coach to give us a grand total out of 30. If you're not sure how it works, go back and watch the previous videos. Get up to speed on our scoring system, but you'll probably be able to work it out as we go along anyway. Right, under 66 for Pedigo's submission fighting. Max Hanson. What are we going to score Max out of 5 stars?
Don't think he's competed as low as 66. I've seen him compete 70 kilos, but if it stayed before weigh-ins, I'm sure he'll be fine to make the weight. Max is pretty solid competitor. I've seen him arise the last couple of years, coming away with some decent wins against relatively high-level opponents, but I don't think putting him above 2 stars would be justified. Don't see him winning more matches than not, but I think he is a very solid slot for them at that 66.
Yeah, I think I had a quick look at his record before, because he's one of these guys that you kind of see the name of competing a lot, but like feels like you don't necessarily watch loads of them, if you know what I mean? Like you see bits and bobs. So he obviously had that match recently against Gianni Grippo that was very close, that he got the nod in. I think he lost to Ethan Krellenston at Zapatero. So that's like a comparison, yeah, of like a 66 guy and Ethan who we scored at 3 stars.
Yeah.
And then we're saying, I think Max does just sit below those like more established kind of guys. We see a lot of it under 66. And we guys who watch our videos will know that like 4 and then 5 are actually like usually tough numbers to get. So yeah, I think 2 stars, very much still like an up and comer. Could snipe someone, also could be durable enough to take someone who's arguably better than him out of the competition. So I think that might be his role. But yeah, a decent guy to have it under 66. I think 2 stars is fair. Under 77, Dante Leon.
Yeah, I think we spoke about him, or maybe it was just off the air, but we spoke about him in comparison to PJ Varch. And I think we ended up scoring PJ at a 4-star, even though he got bumped up to 88. I would say Dante at his natural weight class at 77, even though we've seen him move up and down in weight, I would say he's a 4-star grappler. He's gotten bronze at ADCC. He's taken out bigger guys in the past, like Giancarlo. He had a good scrap with Cyborg as well at some random grappling industries tournament as well. And he's went down in weight and beat guys like Ethan Krellington, and obviously has had some massive wins at his own weight in the likes of Mika Garval, who we scored 5-star. And doesn't necessarily make Dante 5-star, but I think 4 stars for him is pretty fair. He's not won any of the massive tournaments yet. I think he's won Nogi Worlds at Black Belt multiple times, but as far as ADCC or CGI, he's not managed to do that yet, but he's definitely one of the top guys at that weight class. I see him winning more matches than not against guys in his weight class, and then having a really good shot against some of the bigger guys as well. So solid 4 stars for him, I would say.
Yeah. Was it 3rd at ADCC in the absolute last time out, I think?
Yeah, and I think he got 4th in his weight class previously, losing out to Gary Tonin in the bronze match, I think, maybe.
Okay.
Along those lines, yeah.
And we've seen him, you know, the most famous submission victory he's had over Mika, so he's definitely got an ability to take out top names. I think like Dante has the ability to take out like a 5-star. His 4-star matches, if he was against other guys at that level, I think they'd be very competitive and there would be wins and losses within that. And then I'd expect him to be beating like guys who are at 2-star kind of level, you know? Kind of the same as PJ Barch. We've got Joseph as a 4-star as well. Someone was questioning that in the comments. Like, get into the YouTube comments and let us know what you think. But I said that, like, Joseph, I think, might have just creeped into 4-star territory right now. You know, like someone like Bedoni, who we gave 4 stars to, we're like, he's an absolute nailed on 4-star. But there can be arguments around about guys who we can split hairs. But I think like Dante at his best, 4 stars, and a big asset to this team is going to be Dante's ability to compete well against guys across weight classes, like we said. So he might not even just be able to draw against someone who's 88 or 99. He might be able to beat them, which would be a huge victory in the context of the quintet format. Under 88, Jacob Couch.
Looking up his BJJ heroes as we speak, just to get a refresher. My immediate thought before I go look at his recent matches is 3-star. He is very dangerous, and I'm pretty sure he's taken out some really big names. So just looking at his record here. So Elder Cruz and Sebastian Rodriguez by heel hook, J-Rod by ankle lock.
So Trials 2023 was probably his biggest win, right?
Yeah, I think that was the one with I beat J-Rod as well on Who's Number One. Yeah, I would say, I think you could make the argument as like a super strong dangerous too, but I think he's probably shown enough to be a 3-star, especially in this kind of format where submission threat is valued a lot more, and he's got the very strong leg lock attacks, good front headlock, and good arm attacks as well. So I think a solid enough 3-star is fair for him.
Yeah. On Couch, I think we have to say that we've not seen much of him recently. Perhaps that's down to stories that came out about him, which I'm not going to dive too much into on the pod, other than to say that like we are aware of what came out about Jacob Couch, and I think there were allegations made, and I think he has responded to them. So I think we can take it as read that it's what has been put out there's happened. Or certainly if you take the two that we both on Reddit where I saw the comments. So if you take both those threads, you can kind of get the gist of what happened. Anyway, what I will say is Jacob's been picked to be part of this team by a coach, and then obviously the organizers have approved him taking part. So I'm not here to sit and judge like what Couch has done and get into a deep dive on that. I just want to flag up that we are aware of it, and what we're doing in this podcast is just saying where we think Couch's grappling ranks in the team. But I don't want either to be a pod that just puts just bangs on about grappling and isn't putting out there that there is stuff, unsavory behavior, perhaps you could call it, from Couch. There's allegations of it anyway, and I think you should go and read yourself and make up your own mind. But because he's been approved by a coach and an organizer to take part, we're just going to score his grappling here. So we're giving him 3 stars. Anyway, so let's put that little bit in there just in case folk think we're like ignorant as to what's going on with them. Michael Pixley under 99.
Pixley is an interesting one. I'm going to refresh myself on his record as well.
I love Calum, as you're like refreshing yourself, like we get the sound of the keyboard, and I just imagine that's what's going on in your head as you're like trying to access the file in the database that is marked Pixley.
Doesn't have a BJJ heroes. Obviously, his most notable win is Nicholas Merigali, who he Uchimata'd and Darst and tore his shoulder to smithereens at the last ADCC, hence why Merigali is not on the New Wave team. I think we would have scored Merigali like a very solid and high 4 stars if like pre-ADCC, or maybe even if he was to come back in this show, having got over his injury, and he was able to take a guy out like that. Do you have any notes of who else he was against the ADCC or any other notable opponents?
So my thing with Pixley is that, has that like highlight reel win over Merigali. But also, like, although he won trials to get on the show, I think Adam Bradley is still looking for those sweet points against Pixley that really, like, I thought should have been awarded. And you could make the argument that Pixley shouldn't have won those trials. It should have been Adam Bradley. And then we saw, I think Adam went 1-1 at the first CJI. I think with Pixley, it's like his wrestling is brilliant. His takedowns, great. And the Darces and front headlocks and stuff that he can hit off them, the takedowns and the top game are brilliant. But I think that's going to be his route to a submission victory in the competition. And would it be possible for a really good guard player or a belligerent wrestler to like stall him out in a short match and they both are removed from the competition? Possibly. So what way were you leaning for Pixley number wise?
2.
Okay.
Because in our system, I think we have it so that like a 2-star could conceivably beat a 4-star. And like, how many times has Michael Pixley beat Marigali out of 10? Maybe it's just 1, and maybe we're just living in that universe where that happened. I don't know. Maybe he beats him more than that. Maybe he beats him most of the time. I don't know. But if I was to hazard a guess, if they face off 10 times, I would say he wins between 1 and 3. And that's like fair that a 2-star can conceivably beat a 4-star. I don't know how much he's shown outside of that. Obviously, wrestling's his strongest skill set. However, I've seen him be out-wrestled by Owen Livesey on Grapple Fest. I've seen him be out-wrestled by Nicky Rod on the UFC show, and there's some strong wrestlers in this show. And then, yeah, outside of that, I don't know how wide his skill set goes as far as like being able to beat a really good lighter guy that's got a really good guard. Is he going to be able to pass their guard and submit them? I'm really not sure. So he's riding high off of that win with Marigali, and rightly so. It's a massive win, but I don't know if that justifies putting him up to 3 stars as opposed to 2.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think that Marigali match might be a bit of an outlier on the record. Yeah. I mean, like you said, amazing that he was able to do it, but is it a good look into the overall career and form of Michael Pixley heading into this event? I'm not sure. I would say, like, if you just try to use a bit of logic here, if we look at this Daisy Fresh team, currently we've got Pixley on 2. I think Couch is a bit more credentialed than Pixley, and Couch is at 3. And then I think Dante Leon's more credentialed than Couch, and he's at 4. So I think it's fair enough. Again, we've said some of these grapplers are going to like skirt around borders, and we could argue about should it be 2, should it be 3. I have said no half points. I know Calum would like to award half points, but I think we've got to go with conviction, be a bit stronger than that. So we're going to go 2. It could be 2.5, it could be 2.9, right? But we're not going to give him the 3.
Yeah, like I think it's conceivable that he has a mad scramble with someone like Kynan and submits him, but he's not really shown enough outside of the Marigali match, and you can't really justify putting someone up a score only for that sort of match.
Fair enough. What about Brandon Reed at over 99?
Yeah, I'm not going to bother looking for a BJJ Heroes for him because I don't think he will have one. But yeah, he got into ADCC as an invitee, as a last-minute replacement. I think I remember after the mass exodus of athletes to CGI at the last ADCC. Lost first round to Felipe Pena. Had some moments against Felipe. I think he actually gave Felipe a minor injury off the bat, off of like a double leg or a slam at a closed guard or something like that. Maybe hurt Felipe's back a little bit. So yeah, he's a big, strong, physical guy, good wrestling. He's coming from a wrestling background. Seems to be adding in a lot of stuff to his game with defending the leg locks and his wrestling. But I don't think you could really make any justification for him being a 3-star. I think 2 stars is pretty fair for him. Could have a decent match against some guys, like be a difficult guy to do things to, but from what I can remember on his record, I don't remember him having any like massively impressive wins unless you've got anything in front of you.
No, not. It's early days in his jiu-jitsu, you know. Think it's 3-time NAIA champ in America for college wrestling. But yeah, I think listen to Brandon. I'm paraphrasing and I'm trying to remember this interview, but I hope I can remember it well. But he said basically like he thinks his role essentially will probably be to take someone out from another team with his wrestling, because he kind of admits like his submission game is still developing very much and is behind his wrestling. He's a very good wrestler. I very much enjoyed. There's a video on YouTube of Brandon Reed training at Los Banditos. I think he coached a seminar there, and you see him wrestling good guys, and his wrestling's really, really good. So I think he's going to be a big handful. But yeah, I don't think we can score him any higher than 2. And I think in the event, like his big skill is going to be like going in against someone who's causing Daisy Fresh a lot of problems, and maybe Brandon Reed can get them out of there with a draw and both get eliminated. But I think it's gonna be tough for him to win a match. But I also think like it could be tough for him to be beaten, and I could see anything he does in the event being a draw, which might be beneficial.
Yeah, I think we've all had the experience of like rolling with a massive, strong wrestler, and while they might not be able to do much to us as far as passing the guard, it's like we can't really do much to them either, so that might play out in the event.
Okay, so we're currently, if my maths is correct, at 13 points following all the grapplers. So it was 2 for Max, 4 for Dante, that takes us up to 6, 3 for Couch, that's 9, 2 for Pixley, 11, and then another 2 for Brandon, that's up to 13. And we have Heath Pedigo left to score as the coach.
Yeah, one thing might be worth mentioning on the podcast just now. I think he has picked up a very serious eye injury from training, and he might go blind. And there's a GoFundMe for going towards his surgery, because I don't think he can afford it, or maybe the insurance isn't going to cover it. So that might be something that you might be interested in helping with. So shout out to that GoFundMe. I don't know if they've reached their limit yet. I think they were maybe looking for 30k or something like that. So might be worth having a look at if you're interested in helping out. But as a coach, comparing him to like Eddie Bravo that we did in the last pod, with the critique of Eddie saying he's got his finger in a lot of different pies and he's not really totally committed as a coach, I think that's the opposite for Heath. I think Heath's whole life is being a coach, being at the gym for his guys, studying jiu-jitsu, and I think that goes a long way in what he's been able to accomplish with his team, coming from a relatively small town in the middle of the nowhere in the Midwest. I think he's got a pretty good understanding of jiu-jitsu, got a pretty good ability to kind of organize his team and guys. So I think 3 stars would be a pretty fair score for him as a coach.
Yeah. So first off, well said on Heath's eye situation, and hopefully hopefully he gets the surgery that he needs, and it'd be nice to see him at the event. Hopefully he can still make it. In terms of our assessment here, we're scoring coaches as general managers as well, so it's like how the team's being put together. So even if it's unfortunate and he can't make it to the event, although I'm sure he'll be going all out to get there, he has, I think, put this team together, so we can judge it on that. We have docked a few points from other team leaders for team construction, because we thought they might have been able to do a better job. Eddie Bravo, as you mentioned, yeah, like he has only picked 10th Planet guys, and we're not going to dock anything from Heath for like sticking with PSF guys. They've gone with folk in their organization. That's brilliant. And within those guys, the difference between Heath and Eddie is we were questioning some of Eddie Bravo's picks, and we thought there might have been some better options within the 10th Planet organization. I think Heath's pretty much picked the strongest PSF team that you could possibly put together. So, fair play on that. And yeah, I think like he's very switched on to the current grappling scene. You see him, he studies a lot. I think he goes to a lot of events with his guys. He sees a lot of action. He sees what's happening in jiu-jitsu at the current time. He's going to be slightly hampered compared to like the likes of Danaher, previously being in New York and now being in Austin at the sort of like the epicenter of jiu-jitsu in America now. And then Andre Galvao being in California and having a lot of Brazilians come to him. You know, Heath's in Midwest, so it's going to be a bit more challenging to like recruit top jiu-jitsu guys. Although I think there's a good wrestling, a good amount of wrestlers there, good wrestling culture in and around that area of America. So, you know, you might get some more guys like Michael Pixley coming out of that system. But yeah, I think 3 stars is fair enough. And maybe if like, you know, the likes of like Couch or Pixley or Max Hanson can make a step and get into like ADCC medals and all that kind of stuff, then he would be up at 4. But yeah, I think it's still like the coaching career, the general manager career, etc., is still progressing for Heath. But I think 3 stars at this point, absolutely fair. So that 3 stars added to the 13 gives us 16 points for PSF. Now, having ranked all 8 teams, we're going to do a quick summary in a future vid of all of our seeds and kind of getting into like more about how we think the event will play out. But what I will say is we're currently in the situation where we have 3 up top. So we've got New Wave, Atos, then B team, and we see them as the 3 favourites. We've got Europe at the bottom. And then we've got like a really interesting midsection now because PSF and Australasia are in 16, 10th Planet, and America are on 14. I think that's fair. Like my question going into some of these episodes later on, once we rank New Wave, Atos, and B team, was like, who's going to be the 4th seed? And currently, Australasia and PSF are neck and neck. And I think that's kind of what I saw. And we'll pick one for our seeding episode and make them the definitive 4th seed from the Oracle. But right now, how do you think that Daisy Fresh are going to do? You think like get through the first round, get knocked out in the semis, or could they make the final? What do you think their potential is?
I think they're reasonably likely to make it through the first round, depending on who they get matched up against. They've got some solid guys like Dante and Couch can definitely take out some names, and then guys like Pixley and Brandon can stall some guys out. Depends how the seeding matches out, but yeah, I think they could make it through the first day, given the fact that, getting through the first round, should I say, given the fact that, like, yeah, the top 3 are kind of nailed on in our opinion. There is that 4th slot, so I definitely think they've got the potential to make it to the semi-final, but I think that's their realistic ceiling. Don't see them getting through to the final just because they will have to likely face, unless there's a massive upset, they'll likely have to face New Wave, Atos, or B team to get through to the final, and I don't see them having the depth to deal with those teams. So I think pretty likely they could get through the first round. Possible they could get to the semi-final, but I think that's probably their realistic ceiling.
Yeah, I would like at this stage to see Australasia play off against PSF in the first round, see which one of them gets through. Because I think, yeah, it is looking like they're the 2 teams that are quite evenly matched that can then get into the mix against the big boys. Although, again, we'll get more into this in our scene episode. There is the argument that New Wave should face B team round 1 and just have that match because we all want to see it. And then that would kind of like make for a different looking bracket. Anyway, we'll be back with more analysis of all 8 seeds and how we think the tournament's going to go. But get into the comments, let us know what you think about what we have said about PSF and Daisy Fresh and anything else we've discussed on this episode. And we'll be back soon with another Jiu Jitsu Oracle.